All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started today. As you may or may not know, my name is Amy. I am the branch manager of the U.S. Bank that's here on the College of DuPage campus. So if you ever have questions after this in regards to anything financial, anything at all pretty much, I can help you with. Feel free to stop by. We're located right across the Starbucks, right down the hall from us. But today we're going to be talking about identity theft. And I've teamed up with Jennifer Prusco from Financial Aid here on campus, and her and I have done some seminars regarding financial education. And this one we felt was especially important to talk about this time of year as we head into the holiday seasons, especially because it seems like tendencies are you're going to have a lot more fraud start to be happening and also identity theft start to happen around this time of year. Also, Jennifer's going to talk too about financial aid fraud and what happens in those cases. She'll give you all the lowdown on that, but I'm going to talk a little bit about identity theft first. So this is the areas that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to avoid theft. We're going to talk about recognizing a phishing attempt. And then we're also going to talk about what to do if you have identity theft happen to you, so you have resources and tools to help you overcome this. So what you need to know about identity theft. Identity theft is somebody works to take your personal information with the intent to commit fraud. Things like your name, your birth date, your social security number, your accounts, passwords, anything like that they take and they use with the intent to commit fraud. So that would be taking your money, taking something that you have, those kind of fraud. We want to work, basically you have to work to avoid to be a victim. I'm going to go through a nice long list of different ways that you can work to avoid being a victim of identity theft. One of those would be to make sure you're changing your passwords regularly. Nowadays we have passwords for everything. A lot of times people will tend to use the same password for multiple things. It's probably not a good idea. If you are doing that, I would recommend changing that. Making your passwords unique and memorizing your passwords. It's not good to have a little cheat sheet that you keep in your wallet or in your purse that has your passwords on it. If somebody's really intent on committing that fraud to you, they're likely going to find that if they steal your wallet, and then fraud will happen. So make sure you're changing your passwords, they're unique, and you memorize them. When you're online fraud can happen quite often. We hear every day different companies that have been hacked into, they steal their information. Unfortunately, those type of things we can't necessarily help. I mean, besides not buying anything ever, and that's just not realistic. So we want to do things to make sure that we're giving ourselves the best chances. So when you're online, be aware of phishing attempts. A phishing attempt is a term used to describe an activity where websites are copied and a phony site are established to acquire personal information, account information. Make sure you are alert about this and you're taking these steps. So make sure you're protecting your account and password information. Do not record or save your names, passwords, information like that on any computers, even your own personal computer. So make sure you are logging into that site every single time. A lot of sites will have, you can just re-log into. You don't have to type anything in when you go there. I wouldn't recommend doing it. I always make sure that I type in my information every single time, so the next user or anybody can't just go in and log in. Do not use your credit card or check card on an internet unless you have initiated that transaction. So if something pops up and says you won this or buy this as a pop-up, type in your account information. Don't do that. They're looking to take that account information, your credit card number, whatever, and use it fraudulently. When you go to, also make sure you sign up for internet banking and you monitor your accounts through your bank's website regularly. Just signing up for it and checking once every 6 months is not regular. I would recommend you check your information probably 2 to 3 times a week. Make sure nothing's happening that's not okay. If something is happening, you need to report it right away. All banks are going to have some kind of fraud protection for you. They will cover you. They will help you get your money back if something like that happens, but you need to be diligent because there are time frames that you have to report this in order for them to help you. When you go to a bank website, don't use a link to go to the bank website. Go up to the top, type in usbank.com, chase.com, whatever your bank is, type that in and go right to their site that way. That can avoid going to sites that have been copied, phishing sites, things like that. Sign up for account alerts. So when you get a low balance, large withdrawal, negative balances, you can get alerts, text messages, and emails sent to you letting you know that these things are happening in your account on a regular basis. Protect your home computer. Make sure you're using an antivirus, that you're running the software, keeping things updated. That's really important. Install a firewall to help prevent unauthorized access to your home computer. And then delete suspicious emails that you don't know without opening them. So just click delete. When you're writing checks, checks are still used nowadays, believe it or not. Probably not as often, but don't put your driver's license, your social security number, or even sometimes your phone number on the checks. A lot of times people think they need to have their full address, they need to have their phone number, they need to have all this information on their checks. You don't. The only thing that the bank's really concerned about is your account number, your routing numbers on the check, and it's good. And they have a bank name on the check. You can even write a check without having your name up in that corner. It's not necessary to have those things. I would recommend at least your name, but a bank's not going, as long as the account's good, it's okay. Make sure there are special pens that have tamper-proof ink. If you can get the tamper-proof pens, they're about $5 at like a drugstore. They're good to use if you're really concerned about this. A lot of times people aren't too concerned. If you're running a business, I would highly recommend having some tamper-proof ink pens. And then make sure you carry only as many blank checks as you need. So if you're carrying your checkbook around with you, but you don't intend to write a check that day, maybe you leave that at home in a desk in a safe place, somewhere that is safe. And then we want to make sure you're keeping your personal information intact too. You never want to share your personal information unless you initiate that conversation. So if somebody calls you and asks you for your social security number to verify your information, it's probably, in fact, it's not a legit call. They're trying to get you to give them more information about you so they can use that information to commit fraud against you. Keep your social security card in a safe place, meaning don't carry that around in your wallet, don't put it in your purse. If that gets stolen, there's a whole process you have to go through to get a new social security number, and it's not an easy process. Don't put outgoing mail in your own personal mailbox. Take it to the post office, take it to a public place to drop off your mail. That way nobody takes that from your mailbox, knows it's you, knows that you have your information then. Make a list of account numbers, credit cards, anything that you have along with the contact information for those companies, and put it in a safe place in your home. So if something does happen, you can call those companies, let them know that your information's gone and you have your account information that way. A lot of times people will have just the credit card, that's your account number, is the credit card number. But if somebody steals it, where do I get that? So instead of panicking like that, you have a list to go to, and you can call right away and cancel those cards, let those companies know right away. It's a really good best practice. Shred all personal documents and unwanted papers before you throw them away. People will go dumpster diving is what they call it. They'll dig through the dumpsters to find personal information and they'll use that. The biggest thing you can do for yourself is to monitor your accounts. Monitor what is going on. Make sure things are as you expect them to be. If something seems off, ask. Even if it's a purchase that you made, but maybe you don't remember, check with the bank. Make sure that it is something that they say, yeah, this looks normal for your normal spending, and then retrace your steps. But make sure you ask. It never hurts to ask. I have people ask me every single day, I don't remember this purchase. Can you help me? What does this mean? And I look it up all the time. And then we're going to talk briefly about if somebody makes a phishing attempt. So this would be somebody calling you. Phishing refers to a fraudulent communications designed to deceive consumers into divulging personal, financial, or account information. Phishing occurs when criminals make fictitious phone calls, emails that seem to be from a trusted company, financial institution in an attempt to obtain confidential information. They are designed to trick you into disclosing your social security number, PIN numbers, passwords, account numbers, and more. So if somebody calls you to ask for those things, don't give it to them. Say, well, I need to check, and hang up. Or just hang up the phone. It's not a big deal. The biggest way to recognize a phishing attempt is if somebody's calling you to confirm, verify, update personal information. Legitimate companies will never ask you for sensitive account information via an unsolicited phone call, email, or text message. Phishing attempts oftentimes try to scare you. They'll say that if you don't give us your information, your account's going to be suspended or your account's going to be closed. They'll also you also want to look for inconsistencies with phishing attempts. If it's an email, a lot of times there'll be misspelled words. And I say that because a lot of times this isn't coming necessarily from the US. Sometimes these are coming from other countries. So that's one way to discover that. Many phishing attempts will provide fake contact information to help you feel more comfortable. So it'll look like everything's legit. There'll be somebody that you can call and email. It's not really from that company. If you called, you may not even be able to get a hold of anyone. If a phishing attempt happens to you, it's important to report that. Every bank is going to have a fraud security helpline. I would recommend reporting it to your bank if it's in regards to your bank. If it's not, the government has sites out there that you can actually go online and report that information to. That way they can keep a profile on it and they can get those things stopped. The government does monitor, the FBI monitors all these things. So making sure that you are helping them is always a good thing to do as well. So again, this is just information about the different resources. If your mail's getting stolen, report that. If things are coming up missing that you can't find, report that. If there's employment issues, so if someone's using your social security number and applying for work, which does happen, report that to the Social Security office. Call the fraud hotline, which is also listed here for you and provided. And then there's also a whole bunch of resources there. So I'm going to ask Jennifer to come up, but before I do that, do you guys have any questions about what I covered? I know there's a lot of information there, and we went kind of quickly over it. Yeah.
How often do you have to change your passwords, or what's the recommendation?
So the question was, how often do you need to change your passwords? I would recommend changing them probably about once every 3 months or so. So there's not necessarily a set guideline for that. I say that because I have work passwords. So my passwords change, some at 60 days, some 90 days. So that's a good amount of time. If nothing's happening in that time, it's good. If something happens, like somebody's trying to log in and you get an email that somebody's been trying to log into your, change it then. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
My dad too, his work does it.
Yeah. So I would follow those guidelines about every 60 to 90 days, so once every 3 months, which is about 4 times a year. Okay? Any other questions?
Yeah. And then, like, how if you're paying your bill over the phone, or if you're getting random phone calls, can you report the numbers too?
Mm-hmm. I believe there's, I'll look it up, but I believe there's a website here that you can also report those things to, that you can go to. If you're paying bills over the phone though, and you're initiating that, that's okay. You're initiating that call. It's, if somebody is calling you and asking you for that payment, I would ask maybe to get a phone number to call back and make sure you go through the right correct prompts to get to a payment department for whatever company you're calling. So like if you're trying to make a payment to, like let's say ComEd, and they call you to collect that payment, ask if you can have a number to call them back at, and then make sure that it's ComEd that you're calling back and not a random company or something like that. And also if it needs to be a bill that you probably owe on. You know, sometimes they'll try to call and get you to pay money for something that isn't even yours. So make sure that it is something that you actually owe on. Okay? Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I have one last question. What happens when you open an email from like someone you don't know?
Well, what could happen is there could be something in the email that will download onto your computer right away, which could give your computer a virus. And that virus, depending on how it's designed, could look for sequences that you constantly type. So it's looking for passwords. And then getting your passwords, it can also then see email site or websites that you consistently visit. And they tend to put 2 and 2 together there, and they could get into accounts that way. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't really do anything.
Well, just make sure that it's not, I mean, I don't want to scare you by any means. Like, you can still open emails, but if it just seems not right, don't do it. I mean, honestly, the best way to prevent against fraud is if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So like if you have an email that says you just want a trip to Jamaica, well, I didn't apply or enter for any trips to Jamaica. It's probably not an email you should open. Just those kind of things. Or you won the lottery in some random country. Like if you've never been to that country and you don't have any association with it, that's probably something that you don't want to open. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and like if you have Microsoft Word saved, like documents, can people hack into those?
People can hack into anything. Yeah. So I mean, just don't have things that you would want others to see, or anything that's like really sensitive that you save for a long time on your computer. Get rid of those things. But also, if you're running a good firewall and you have virus protection, things like that on your computer, that's going to help you too. Okay? I mean, so you don't need to be scared or anything, but just make sure that you are working to protect yourself, doing things that'll help that. Okay?
So my name's Jennifer Presco, and I am one of the financial aid representatives here at College of DuPage. So like Amy said, we've been teaming up on these Let's Talk Money sessions, and we thought the identity theft at this time would be good. What I wanted to talk about is there's always talk about identity theft, stealing your identity, et cetera. But I wanted to also bring it back to the college level and say that this happens when it even comes to financial aid, that there's a lot of financial aid fraud that happens because of the identity theft. So what I handed out to you guys was kind of a sheet on financial aid fraud and how to not get scammed. The main thing you want to remember when you're doing financial aid is when you're applying for financial aid, whether it's a grant, whether it's a scholarship, whether it's a loan, it should not cost you anything to apply for those programs. So you're applying for federal aid, you want to make sure that the website always has .gov at the end. So when you're filing your free application for federal student aid, you're going to FAFSA.gov, not FAFSA.com. You just want to make sure that you're being wary of what links you're clicking on, that you're being taken to legitimate sites. So you always want to reference the school you're going to is always going to be a legitimate spot for you. If you're doing scholarship searches, colleges will put a list of legitimate scholarship searches out there instead of finding one that may be trying to scam you out of money, making these big promises that you're going to get all of this money. We did have a student who she paid somebody to help her find scholarships. They sent her a very legitimate looking scholarship acceptance letter saying, congratulations, you got a $5,000 scholarship. She was an out-of-district student, so she didn't apply for financial aid because she was banking on this money. We kept waiting for the money, and it never came. What they did is they copied a sample award letter off online, put in her information, sent her the letter, so she had no idea that it wasn't legit because she had paid somebody that she thought was helping them. So if you do pay somebody, that itself is not fraud, but if you're paying and you're getting nothing in return, not what you were promised, then on the site there is a number that you can call to the Federal Trade Commission, and they can track that information. Check the Better Business Bureau website for a lot of these, companies that may be offering scholarships or companies helping with loan repayment. You definitely want to take care of that. In your packet, I also included an article about one of the financial aid fraud cases that happened here on campus. So it is happening here at College of DuPage, it's happening at other schools, because students are getting other people's identity. They may have stolen somebody's identity for another purpose and then use it to apply for college admission. So maybe they never think to do financial aid, but they apply for college admission. They're using somebody else's identity. They use that identity to apply for financial aid, to take online classes, and what they do is they take out loans in your name under your Social Security number. They don't pay it back because it's tied to you. So then what's happening is you may get a letter in the mail saying, oh, you owe this money to the college. If you do get anything like that, definitely, run the credits, that Amy provided. Contact the police at the college that you're going to, because what they can do is they can then work with the Inspector General through Department of Education. Contact the financial aid office at the school that you're getting this letter from saying, hey, you owe this money in financial aid, or you got a bill from the college saying you have an unpaid balance. Definitely reach out to the school, because what may happen is they may have gotten other phone calls from students, and it just kind of creates a track out there. So don't just ignore the letters that you get, ignore the bills that you get. They are legitimate bills that you're getting, it just you may have not applied for those financial aid programs. So we just want you guys to be wary because everything is online. You may enter your FAFSA online and you may have your PIN number and you just have it sitting next to you and you're in a public spot and you have your PIN number there. What happens is somebody can just look at your PIN number, look at the screen that you're doing, and you may not think they're looking at your screen, and copy your information. For financial aid, once they have your name, your social and date of birth, they can apply for financial aid. They can apply for your PIN number and have access to all your financial aid documents. So as you're applying, just make sure you're keeping all that information to yourself. I've had students where their boyfriend has their social security number. You want to make sure you keep your social security number to yourself. Be careful who you're sharing that information with. Again, like Amy said, nothing is going to be unsolicited. You're not going to get an email or a letter from the school saying, congratulations, you got this scholarship, but you never applied for it. So you just want to make sure that you're wary. If it sounds too good to be true, it usually is too good to be true. If you see something on the internet about, oh, there's free money given to students, X, Y, and Z, you can always go to Department of Education's website, and that's where they'll have all the confirmed information out there. Always reach out to, the financial aid office, to the school. Better Business Bureau, I've seen a lot of those, especially even when you're looking for schools. Make sure it's a legitimate, actual school that you're applying to, because we don't want you to get, defrauded out of a college education as well. So identity theft is more than just they're going to take your identity and take, your credit cards or your bank account. They could use that to file taxes for you. We have a lot of students that I've seen in the last 2 or 3 years where they try to file a tax return and the IRS says, oh, you already filed a tax return. Now they have to file an identity theft report because somebody had used their social security number to apply for taxes. It could be, food stamps, any welfare programs. Once they have your identity, it can open up doors for anything. And like Amy said, if you're throwing anything in the mail, make sure you're shredding it, or in the garbage, make sure you're shredding it. I know a lot of people will just throw stuff in the mail that has their name, their bank account, address. People will go through and, like Amy said, they'll dumpster dive and they'll pull that information, and that's how they'll get it. So you just want to make sure that you are careful of protecting your identity, especially during this holiday season, and in January, February when you're applying for financial aid as well. Just try to keep all that information. Keep a folder, especially if you're taking out student loans. Just have a financial aid folder where you have all your loan information, who your servicer is, phone numbers, so if there are any issues, you have that information right there that you can keep tabs on it. Through Department of Education, there is a website the National Student Loan Database System, where you can view your financial aid activity, see how much grants you have, how much loans you have. It's just a way of keeping track of your account information. Okay, because we want to make sure that you guys aren't getting defrauded out of your identity or anything like that. So we handed out some information from the Federal Trade Commission on identity theft and something from Department of Education, how to save your identity when it comes to financial aid. So we just want to have those resources at your fingertips, kind of help you be a little bit more financially savvy when it comes to, you know, identity, buying stuff online, applying for online, just kind of have that information protected. Okay. Do you have any questions for myself or Amy as far as identity theft? Otherwise, thank you very much for coming out. Hopefully it helped a lot, gave you a little bit of pointers or information that you may not have thought of to kind of help protect your identity. All right, thank you.